Before the neighborhood fully wakes, the balcony sits in soft morning light. No voices, no movement, just warm air, a few potted plants, and the quiet feeling of a new day beginning. It is the kind of silence most people never notice until something small arrives to change it. A dove appears like a gentle question. She lands lightly on the railing, head tilting, as if the air itself might be hiding danger. She does not act like she belongs there. She acts like she is borrowing the space, even the sunlight, and she is ready to leave at the slightest wrong sign. Her eyes are wide and watchful, shining like dark glass. Every small sound matters. A door hinge, a distant footstep, even the wind. She has survived by trusting almost nothing, and that instinct sits in her body like a tightened string, ready to snap her into flight. Inside the home, a man pauses near the window. He sees her through the glass, small and still against the bright morning. He does not step out. He does not rush toward her. He only watches, quietly, as if he understands that sudden movement would turn her courage into fear. For a moment, it becomes a quiet standoff between two worlds. One is made of doors, schedules, and human habits. The other is made of open sky, sharp instincts, and fast exits. The dove stays. The man stays. And in that stillness, something fragile begins. A tension. After a few moments, the man gently opens the balcony door. He moves slowly, careful not to startle the quiet morning. But to the dove, even the smallest motion feels enormous. Instinct whispers the same message it always has. When humans move closer, safety usually moves farther away. The dove does not wait for a second warning. Her wings spread in one swift motion, and the quiet balcony bursts into movement. In an instant, she lifts into the air, rising above the railing and the roofline, leaving nothing behind but the soft echo of feathers cutting through the morning. The balcony becomes still again. The man stands there quietly, looking at the place where the bird had been only seconds before. No anger, no disappointment, just the quiet understanding that fear is not something that disappears in a single moment. But instinct does not only warn about danger. It also remembers safe places. Later that day, the dove circles the neighborhood once more. The balcony is quiet again, just as it was before. Slowly, carefully, she returns to the same railing. Inside the house, the man notices her return. This time, he does something different. Instead of stepping outside, he simply watches from the window. Sometimes the smallest decision, choosing patience instead of curiosity, is the first step toward trust. The next morning, the man steps onto the balcony again. This time, he carries something small in his hand. A few simple seeds. Nothing dramatic, nothing meant to force a moment. He places them gently on the railing, as if leaving a quiet invitation. After placing the seeds, the man does not wait. He slowly steps away from the railing and returns inside the house. The balcony is quiet again, just as it was before. But now something new rests on the surface. A small gesture of patience. Not far away, the dove watches from the edge of a nearby rooftop. Her eyes follow every movement. She notices the seeds. She notices the man leaving. But instinct still whispers caution. Safe places are not always what they appear to be. After several quiet minutes, curiosity begins to win a small argument against fear. The dove glides down toward the balcony once more. Her wings slow as she lands beside the scattered seeds, ready to leave again if anything feels wrong. For a moment, she simply looks at the seeds. Then she pecks at one, then another. Nothing happens. No sudden movement, no approaching footsteps. Only the quiet morning and a simple meal left behind by someone who understood that trust cannot be rushed. The next morning arrives much like the one before. The balcony catches the early sunlight, and the neighborhood slowly wakes. And just as quietly as the day begins, the dove returns again. Not rushing, not completely relaxed either, but returning. The man steps outside once more, holding another small handful of seeds. He moves with the same careful patience as before. No sudden motion, no attempt to come closer. He simply places the seeds on the railing and quietly steps away. The dove watches him leave through the glass door. She waits. One moment, then another. Instinct still asks its questions. But when nothing changes, she hops toward the seeds again, moving carefully along the railing. The same quiet scene repeats again and again over the next few days. The man leaves seeds. The dove returns. Nothing dramatic happens. And yet something important slowly begins to form. A pattern both of them start to understand.
Little by little, the dove begins staying longer on the balcony. She watches the garden, the street, the sky above the rooftops. The place no longer feels like borrowed space. It begins to feel like a quiet corner she can return to. One morning, the routine changes in a very small way. The man steps onto the balcony with the usual handful of seeds. He places them gently on the railing, just as he has done many times before. But today, instead of leaving immediately, he pauses. The dove immediately notices the difference. Her head tilts slightly as she watches the man remain standing nearby. Her body tightens, ready to escape if necessary. Instinct says this is not the usual pattern. For several seconds, neither of them moves. The man remains still, almost like a statue in the sunlight. The dove watches him carefully. Two living creatures sharing the same small space, both waiting to see what the other will do. Then, slowly, the dove takes a small step toward the seeds. Nothing happens. The man does not move. Encouraged by the silence, she steps closer again. The distance between instinct and curiosity grows just a little smaller. Finally, the dove lowers her head and pecks at the seeds. The man remains completely still, watching quietly. In that simple moment, something invisible changes. Fear does not disappear, but it loosens its grip just enough to make space for trust. One morning, the man notices something different. The dove lands on the railing again, but this time she carries a small twig in her beak. She sets it down carefully, studying the corner of the balcony as if measuring the space. Over the next few days, the man sees the dove returning again and again with small pieces of twigs and grass. Each visit adds another tiny part to the growing structure in the corner of the balcony. Slowly, the shape of the nest becomes clear. The man watches quietly from inside the house. He realizes that the dove has chosen this balcony for something important, not just a place to visit, but a place to build a home. The routine continues. Each morning, the man leaves a few seeds on the railing. He moves slowly, always careful not to disturb the small construction project happening nearby. The balcony has become a shared space built on patience. Then, one morning, the man notices something new resting in the nest. Two small white eggs lie gently between the twigs. The dove sits over them carefully, her body still and protective. For many days, the dove rarely leaves the nest. She sits quietly over the eggs, warming them beneath her feathers. The man notices how still she becomes during these long hours. Every movement is careful. Every sound is measured. Time passes slowly on the balcony. The man continues placing seeds nearby each morning. The dove watches him, but she no longer seems alarmed. The small balcony has become a quiet world where both of them move carefully around the fragile life waiting in the nest. One morning, something new appears in the nest. A tiny crack spreads across one of the eggs. The dove leans forward slightly, her attention completely focused. The long wait is finally beginning to change. Soon, the shells break open completely. 2 tiny chicks appear in the nest, their bodies small and fragile beneath soft feathers. The dove gently shifts her wings to cover them. From inside the house, the man quietly observes the tiny family. He does not step closer. He understands that this moment belongs to them. The balcony that once held only sunlight and silence now holds new life. The days that follow are busy ones for the small family. The dove moves carefully around the nest, feeding the tiny chicks and adjusting the twigs beneath them. Every movement is gentle and deliberate, guided by the quiet rhythm of instinct. The chicks grow quickly beneath the warm sunlight of the balcony. Their feathers begin to fill out, and their tiny heads rise higher each day above the nest. Life, once fragile and hidden inside 2 small eggs, now becomes visible and energetic. By now, the dove seems comfortable with the man moving quietly around the balcony. One afternoon, he sits on the wooden chair, reading quietly while the dove rests nearby on the railing. The balcony has become its own little world. The soft rustle of feathers, the quiet turning of book pages, the occasional chirp from the nest. None of it feels unusual anymore. What once began as cautious distance now feels like quiet understanding. But time never stands still. The young birds stretch their wings more often now. They stand taller on the edge of the nest, testing the strength of feathers that were not there only days before. The young birds have grown strong. Their feathers now resemble those of their mother, and they spend more time standing along the edge of the nest. Each day they stretch their wings wider, preparing for something their instincts already understand.
One afternoon, one of the young birds suddenly leaps from the railing. Its wings beat awkwardly at first, but quickly find rhythm in the open air. The second chick soon follows, gliding toward the nearby rooftops where the sky begins. The balcony grows quiet again. The nest remains in the corner, but the small voices that once filled the space are gone. The man stands by the railing, looking at the place where the young birds first learned to stretch their wings. Later that evening, a familiar shape appears on the railing once more. The mother dove returns briefly, landing in the same place where the story began. She watches the balcony quietly, as if remembering the small life that once grew there. For a moment, the man and the dove share the quiet evening once again. No sudden movements, no fear, just stillness. Then the dove spreads her wings and lifts into the fading sunlight, leaving the balcony peaceful once more. Kindness doesn't always ask for anything in return. Sometimes it simply becomes a place where trust can land.